Sound check. Check sound. Sound check. Check sound. Sound check. How you doing, Lokgar?
Uh, Good. I wonder how my mic's doing, so mic check.
Mike. Alright guys, how's it doing? Anyone have any issues out there?
No,
Any
I'm gonna try
issues?
to. I'm gonna try to view the stream too to see if I can hear it.
Yeah, do we have a URL for viewing the chat only, by the way?
It's an IRC channel. I completely forgot how to
Alright, I'll ask
connect to it though.
Relkin. I can hear something in the background, by the way, from your mic.
Yeah, it's the very loud advertisement that
Oh, okay.
is playing and killing my ears, unfortunately. All right, now I think I can tune into the stream. Maybe not.
What's up?
My volume seems fine to me when I'm
Okay.
hearing it back, but yeah, I think it's fine.
Alright, it seems a little loud to me. I'm getting a little bit of like staticky stuff, and I'm not sure. Maybe alright. I
Static.
am hearing all
Oh,
your mouse clicks and stuff, though, so just watch that.
1 minute.
Keyboard is the worst.
Is that better? I mean,
Okay.
my Razer mouse is just very loud in general.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds fine to me. Does it sound fine to Jonathan?
Yeah, I'm clicking around now.
Slightly louder.
It's louder now.
No. It was no. Whatever you changed made it better.
All right, is
But
that even better?
okay, now you're really low. Okay, is it fine now, Jonathan? All right, hold on. Say something, Locker.
What's up?
Okay,
All right,
it's fine.
can you hear the mouse clicks?
Oh, now you're low. Okay. I can't hear. Yeah, I can still hear the mouse clicks. I think we may just be screwed on that front. All right, turn up your volume again a little bit.
I'm gonna. Is that better? I'm gonna try to just lower or use the keyboard keys to scroll, I guess.
Yeah, that's what I do anyway. It works. Well, okay. Yeah, it doesn't matter for you. It works better for me with the cam. Alright, so we seem to both be working. Let's get some game sound going up here so we can see about that. Get the menu music going. Alright, actually Skype is attenuating that like mad, so let me check my settings or something. Actually, I'll just put master volume all the way up. Alright, can you guys hear the game alright? Like, or are we just way overpowering it? Game coming in, or is the static sound too much, or... Alright, so let me try and pull Skype's attenuation down really quick. Alright, is that any better? Well, yeah, I hope you don't hear anything right now, Rolkin. Okay, now try.
Uh, am I still good?
Yeah, it sounds a little better balanced to me on my end now. Okay. I'm gonna get ready to get this thing going then. Let's get moving. We are a minute
All
late.
right. Yeah. We apologize for the delay, just last minute sound issues. It should hopefully be resolved, and everything should be loud enough for everyone to hear. Me.
We want to make sure we got the sound right this time, because we don't want another debacle like last time. Alright guys, so, I know you got the little International Cyber Cup splash screen up right now. Change that from last time so it doesn't look like the stream is down every single time I put that up. So I hope you guys are fans of that. But we're going to get this cast started right now.
Yeah, we will.
It's going. Alright everyone, so for today we've got the ESL Finals for you, the first tournament that they had after Retribution, and we're going to go ahead and we've got Aki versus Edtjuh. We're actually going to see 3 different games from them. They played a best of 3, and it took all 3 games. We're going to see a completely different matchup every single game, even though it's the same 2 players.
Which is really interesting because most players just usually stick to 1 or 2 races, and in the finals, usually they'll stick with their main race.
Yeah, and we really saw, from Aki, we really saw no main race at all. Actually, he said, well, we'll come and see that in the second game. But right now we're loading up this first game here on Greentooth Gorge. And this is... We're going to stop at about 5 seconds in here and get all synced up. This game is going to be Lictor Alpha, who is Aki, and Edtjuh is going to be the Wart Spider X-Art. So, Lokgar, are you all set and ready?
Yep, I am paused at 5.
Alright, we're going to break this pause in 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And here we go. So, as mentioned, in the top we've got the Wart Spider X-Arc of Edtjuh, and in the bottom we've got Aki as the Lictor Alpha.
Yeah, and let's see here. Edtjuh goes for the power node with his Warp Spider Exarch and the Guardian skipping his natural wreck, which is sort of interesting. It looks like he's just rushing to get power to, he went Banshees first, and that's Termagant versus Banshees. The Termagant would purple.
Well, we do see only 1 Termagant coming here from Aki, and actually we're only going to see that 1 Termagant. He will not
Yeah,
be
and Wolf Spider
eliminated.
Exarch's going to harass the capping Gaunt squad, and when the Gaunt squad will disengage and losing models while capping, he's not moving away. He's lost 2 models already, 3 models, just and finally retreats, losing 3 models. That's a pretty silly loss in my opinion.
Yeah, there really is no reason to take that because, as we see, the Wart Spider X-Arc is going to end up at this point one way or another. And especially we saw kind of where he was before, kind of by that building. That's also going to be a key part of this entire game. But just kind of the Wart Spider coming down here and being a really big nuisance in this area of the map we're going to see is going to be a big part of Edtjuh's strategy. And Aki is really going to have to do his best here if he wants to succeed against this to minimize his attrition losses. And right there, he really didn't succeed at doing that. One of the other things I really want to quickly point out here is we have this power node that's just kind of in the middle here, completely uncapped here. Well, in the meantime, we have Edtjuh going with both power nodes capped already.
Edtjuh also has almost every requisition point on the map other than 2 that Aki has. That's a huge income gain for him, and he's coming out with Rangers to be able to detect the Lictor Alpha at this point in time.
Yeah, and we do see actually that his Guardians are moving down to the second closest requisition point near Aki's. So really Aki is losing out on all of these requisition right now. And he's also not really moving for power either, so resource-wise he's kind of hindered. In the meantime, we see the Wart Spider X-Arc in that building in the bottom victory point area there, just being the biggest nuisance known to man. Which is basically what he's designed to do, so...
Edtjuh is doing a really good job of just keeping him harassing Gaunts and popping models, running into the building so the Gaunts can't give chase, and then going back to harass even more. Also interesting to notice, Edtjuh didn't upgrade his natural power gen with generators. Like, he upgraded the one that's not close to his brain.
He upgraded the further node, which is definitely a lot more exposed, but again, one of the things we're going to see in this game is that Edtjuh is going to really like that center area. He's kind of going for a static-ish build, or static-y build, I guess I want to say. You can't really see it yet because he only has the Rangers out, but he will be getting some Shurikens out as well. So that's something to really watch, is exactly how Edtjuh plays in the middle, and then how he uses his Wart Spider X-Arc again in this building here, really just screwing constantly with Aki in the bottom here. His Termagant squad is down to 3 out of 8 models, and just constantly really inflicting attrition losses, challenging that victory point, preventing Aki from really doing what he would like to do everywhere else on the map.
And Aki's going for 2 Ravener squads with only 1 Termagant squad. Usually players will get 2 Termagon squads. That way they can stack crippling poisons on melee units and then spike down with the dual Raveners. It's interesting to see that he only has 1 Termagon and 2 Raveners. And the Guardian squad almost goes fully down with only 18 HP. That was a good usage of Hormigons in the retreat paths, but the Banshees will chase and probably chase them away and force them to retreat, yes.
Yeah, definitely a very nice flank. We saw the Banshees there pop their ability just a little late. They managed to get one model off, but they popped a whale off just a little bit late there post-retreat. It may have been due, we saw some lag come in on the little chat relay here. So it may have been due to the lag, it may have been due to one of a few things, but just kind of a little thing that's a little bit of a mistake on Edge's part.
The Raveners aren't even upgraded with Devourer yet. I think Aki is losing... Is it because of the requisition drain on the Gaunts? Because he has been losing lots of models, and Banshee's forced to retreat, and the Rangers get jumped into, and they're forced to pull back. They are upgraded with the Infiltrate Pathfinder gear.
Yeah.
And Shuriken.
And by the way, Curse of Devourer is going down now. Basically, I think the reason for not getting Devourer immediately was that he wanted to focus on getting both of the Raveners out first. And it's just been, yeah, I mean, kind of like resources, just in general the map not really being in his favor. A lot of attrition losses. And he was a little late on upgrading it, but it was, you know, in the middle of battle. I think that's kind of one of those areas where we're seeing like a lot of Dawn of War 2 players right now. Very good players. I don't want to take anything away from them, but I think it's one of those areas of growth where we definitely see that you know, a lot of comments about not a lot of APM is required for Dawn of War 2, and yet I feel like there's so much more that could be put into the game. It just isn't necessarily required yet because it's one of those things where all players are kind of on the same level there.
Ooh, and a Guardian Shield is out. That's a really good choice against Corrosive Devour Raveners, because energy shields block range damage coming in from the way that they're facing. Eventually they run out of health and can be destroyed, but they can take a lot of punishment. And here in the middle we see the Guardians being chased by the Lokgar Alpha, while the Raveners
watch
jump
out for that
into
grenade, but it doesn't manage to hit anything. But a very nice try, though, to actually spike on retreat there. Maybe, at a bare minimum, maybe knock back the Raveners, even if not killing anything, you know, kind of pave the way for everything else to retreat. In the meantime, we had seen some Banshees and Hormigons go at it. Hormigons having to back off from that.
Banshees chasing the Raveners. Nice crippling poison, forcing the Banshees to retreat while the Raveners stay in the battle and cap the VP. And the Lokgar Alpha engages the Warpsplitter Exarch, forcing the Warpsplitter Exarch to teleport away. We do see Edtjuh doing a good job of keeping the VP on Aki's side under his control. For the most part of the game, it's actually been contested very well.
Yeah, we really see that you know, Edtjuh is just not allowing Aki to really engage. If he tries to move a significant portion of his forces anywhere else, he immediately then has to deal with the bottom victory point there being taken over by Edtjuh. So we again see Edtjuh making good use of buildings with his Warpsplitter Exarch here to force Aki off, and that buys time for the Shuriken to set up, buys time for the Guardians to come out and move in. And basically forces forces Aki off of that top area where he would have had a shot at going in on the natural power farm. By the way, as you mentioned earlier, it was kind of interesting that Edtjuh built on the non-natural node for the power initially, but by now his main farm is at his natural, so I'm not really sure what the point of that was.
It is giving him quite a bit of lead in power income. He's already teching to tier 2, even with a fairly hefty power investment. Huge battle at Edtjuh's natural power farm. Like, Gaunts are taking heavy damage. Raveners forced to retreat. Other Raveners jumped into the Shuriken,
now watch the
tying
Shuriken
them
though.
up.
The Shuriken executes this perfectly here. Even though it's being chased by Raveners, it's in grave danger. It just moves back and resets up. Does not retreat, does not falter, and it just moves into a position now where both Raveners have used their burrow, so therefore they're not really able to go ahead and burrow on top of it again. And the Shuriken's just able to reset up and protect the power farm. Meantime, though, Edtjuh's other power farm is being hit. Aki doing a good job of recognizing, okay, that Edtjuh has secured the natural power node, but the other power farm is open.
If we go to the income tab, we do see Edtjuh's leading by quite a bit of requisition income, because he does have 2 extra requisition points, and both of them are fully mature. That's an extra 90 requisition he's getting over Aki. And now Wraithguard coming out. That's going to do some major damage to the shooty army of Aki.
Yeah, and again here we see the Warp Spider Exarch just inhabiting that building and actually, in the process, kind of forcing Aki to move his Termagant and Ravener Brood a little higher maybe than he would like to. Really kind of in Edtjuh's territory right now, especially as this Wraithguard comes out.
Oh, Rangers are being... They removed, like, they reduced the Hormigaunt damage against buildings, correct? Like, melee damage?
They've reduced power melee, I know for sure. They may have reduced all kinds of melee. I'm not sure on that, though.
Okay, because Edtjuh did something I really liked. His Rangers were being surrounded by Hormagaunts, and instead of hitting retreat like many players would do, he just ran them into the closest building, straight through the Hormagaunts.
Yeah, but he retreated right through the Hormagaunts at the end,
yeah.
so unfortunately
Now that was kind of useless, but
yeah.
Back then it was pretty cool.
It was a nice move back then. So he does manage to lose the Ranger squad, which will hurt him a little bit, but not too much. He seemed to have been using it mostly for ninja capping. But, you know, you can never really... Ninja capping squad is still always useful, so...
And a Warrior Brew coming out for Aki. Interesting that he's not getting a Venom Brood for the range snaps, actually. I would kind of expect that. But he might be getting AGs for the extra tanking capacity and just being able to tie up things in general.
Yeah, and that will be what he is looking for from that Adrenal Gland Warrior Brood.
And we do see that the Wraith Guard are now engaged in battle with the Termagants, taking out only one model with a shot.
Yeah, the Termagants were very well micro there to move back at just the perfect times to really not take any significant damage. But again, we see the auto coming out here. Now, this is very interesting. The spread that Edtjuh puts on this is something you don't see too often. Usually most Eldar players are very content to go ahead and try and get the give. You know, they go for giving power. In this case, Edtjuh just wanted to go for disruption. He already had Banshees in the retreat path. He had the Audar coming out. He had Wraithguard. He had all sorts of things in the retreat path that he could go ahead and capitalize on that for. So he went for just disruption. And in the meantime, we saw that battle there. That whole disruption bit actually kind of worked. Edtjuh didn't get too many kills out of it, but what he got out of it was that he forced 2 of Aki's units off the field. Aki tried to move and support them to prevent the wipes. In doing so, Edtjuh's very well positioned Shuriken was able to prevent Aki's support forces from really moving in and doing anything significant. They didn't get the wipes, but at the same time they did force Aki from the field. And again, we see that Edtjuh is taking even more map control because of this.
I do really like that, actually, because many players underestimate the power of knockback, but it is really helpful. It's always good to have some sort of crowd control, as opposed to just straight-up damage. And we see the Shuriken is nicely set up to suppress the Gaunts and the Warriors.
Except the Gaunts still managed to sneak through.
Yeah, the Shuriken was focusing on the Warriors, and the Warriors were microed back just enough that they weren't taking too much damage, and they were able to stick it up. The second Shuriken sets up in time, and 2 Gaunt squads lost to the Wraith Guard fire.
But we are seeing a deadly jump here go down on the Shuriken Cannon team from the Lictor Alpha, and that will force a retreat. And the Wraith Guard are retreating slowly, but eventually as well.
I do like this whole time the Guardian squad was backcapping one of Aki's requisition points. That's good usage of a Guardian squad this late into the game, into mid-game.
As well, we have the Warp Spider Exarch again in that bottom position there, forcing off a Termagant squad down to 2 models. And although we do have Raveners coming out immediately to try and stop the Warp Spider Exarch from going with a full cap, and not a bad move, especially because Aki actually is taking some map control back at the moment, but Edtjuh is pushing out once again. Aki is trying to move to tier 3 at the moment, though.
A quick note on Edtjuh's upgrades. His Warp Spider Exarch has the phase armor, warp targeters, and I think the heavy death gauge spinners. I can't check while he's in the buildings.
He does.
Which is quite a significant power cost, but it gives him amazing crowd control ability and range damage. Like against these Raveners, for instance, just able to knock them down, deal massive damage, and force them off, and then he can just recap that VP whenever he wants.
And we're going to see that again and again. This is one of the ways that Edtjuh is going to basically maintain control of this bottom victory point, is through the use of heavy death gauge spinners, as well as improved targeters. He's just going to be able to go in and challenge just about any single unit that Aki can put on the field against the Warp Spider Exarch, and it's going to force Aki to put forth more than one unit in that area. In the meantime, if we look in the middle of the map here, we see the Edge has already done a great job. He's got a very nice setup here. So that even with dual Raveners and this deadly jump Lictor Alpha, despite the relatively static force composition, I want to say, because we have 2 Shurikens and we have a Wraithguard, units that aren't very mobile, right? When they're attacking, Edge is still going to be effective just because of all the setup and all the harass and such.
I did like that attempted back cap because leap is a very useful ability to get away, and the Shuriken suppresses the massive blob, but the Lictor Alpha jumps in. Banshees go in, use the War Shout. Ravener's jumping into, I believe, the Wraith Guard, but the second Shuriken will be able to suppress them and deal massive damage.
And the Raveners are not focus firing where they need to be either. They're not really being microed at all. They seem to just kind of get up and then attack whatever they wanted to, which in this case is the Guardians, which is not really the thing they should have been attacking. The Guardians are being kind of left to dry here. But they do pop down a very nice grenade spike, and the Swarmline Column was able to force off that last Shuriken cannon team, and is going to try and get some kills here in this Guardian, but not be too successful at that. Kind of the one thing I did really want to see a little bit more of this Swarmline Column, honestly, from Aki again, because of these kind of static force compositions from Edtjuh. They really would have helped in kind of just boosting what his Raveners and his Lictor Alpha would be able to do. But this was one of the few times we actually see that call-in.
Right, the Spore Mine Column is really good for the red cost because the new and upgraded Spore Mines are excellent in dealing amazing amounts of damage very quickly. The Autarch is going down in a hail of fire, kills a few models, and then forces a retreat.
But it does buy the time that Edtjuh needs here to get his forces back out again. And again, this seems to be a consistent theme here. That Edtjuh is able to just kind of annoy Aki enough, force him to commit things that may need to be forced back or take damage and such. Again, we've seen these Raveners the entire game been operating very, very low health, simply because Aki cannot afford to leave them at the base for very long.
I also like how entrenched the central position is, sort of. He doesn't dedicate too many units to it, but he has enough that he knows that he's going to try to take that central VP. It seems to be that he's going after it time and time again. But with 1 or 2 suppressive platforms, he's been able to hold it off every time and then cap the requisition points. And Swarmlord is coming out, as well as a Fire Prism. Swarmlord, of course, being the super unit for the Tyranid. It's a very powerful, very, very powerful unit. Grants speed synapse, which increases unit speed, allows units to reinforce near it. But honestly, without requisition points, you can't really use that because you won't have the requisition to reinforce in the battlefield.
Exactly, and it seems like what Aki is intending for the Swarmlord here is to really be kind of an ultimate line breaker. The reason why this central position is so powerful for Edtjuh is that it allows him to, if he manages to successfully control it, it prevents Aki from making any kind of concentrated attack on either of Edtjuh's main power sources. So it allows Edtjuh to safeguard those. And then, as we've been seeing all game, this kind of bottom right portion in the map, it just kind of allows easy access for Edtjuh to get down there. The only thing that's kind of tough for Edtjuh to access is that bottom victory point on the left side. But the Warp Spider Exarch is kind of solving that problem for him by being able to jump in there, having all these upgrades, and being able to just disrupt, cap, disrupt, and force Aki to just commit too much over there so that he can't really push the center the way he would really like to.
I do like the Shuriken in the building guarding the other victory point. It's not far enough away that it can't help the center when it needs to, but it's in a very nice position that's very hard for Tyranids to dislodge without Spore Mines, and that's the perfect place to use a Spore Mine Column.
Yeah. Meanwhile here we have a lot of static weaponry set up here as the Swarmlord is pushing out here. We've got the D-Cannon that is going to be knocked up here by the Ravener Brood. But these Wraith Guards are still relatively unmolested. The D-Cannon is able to reset up and not really harassed anymore. The Autarch and expansions are going to need to get out here. The Fire Prism, though, and the Shuriken are still up. The D-Cannon and the Wraith Guard are getting out at this point. The Fire Prism is backing up. The Shuriken has got to get out of there at this point. It seems like it will do that. Actually, is it heading for the building? It seems like it might do that. And indeed, it is going for the building.
in this whole engagement, none of the players actually lost a full squad. That's amazing because of the amount of AoE weaponry that was out on the field.
Yeah. Those, but you know, Raveners are incredibly resilient. They're really, if you think about it, very high health units.
For a three-man squad, I would agree. I'm mainly saying about the Gaunts. I feel like
Oh yeah, definitely.
there were several. Both the Gaunt squads were very close to being fully wiped out, and that's just amazing that it was able to get.
Remember,
them
we
both
did
out.
have the Rangers wiped out though, so there was one squad wiped technically. But as far as the tier node goes, no, Aki has managed to keep his squads alive so far. But he has taken significant attrition losses though, and that is hurting him.
Yeah, his requisition has been low this entire game. He only has 146 income, while Edtjuh has 269, and I believe more squads. But both players
Edtjuh's
are
squads are actually going off the end of the squad bar here, whereas Aki's end with the Swarm Lord.
And like we stated, Aki can't really use the Swarm Lord's reinforce on the field abilities simply because he doesn't have the requisition needed to do so.
We're going to see a singularity come in here. Watch these Hormigons. They try to retreat out. They get sucked right back in and give.
That is a huge loss this late in the game. Hormigons are excellent ninja cappers. They're fast, can defend against enough threats when they're ninja capping.
And
like,
speaking of ninja capping, we've got these Guardians
terrible.
down at the natural requisition node of Aki, going ahead and taking that away now. Aki really is just very low on requisition at this point, and he's got there isn't much that he can do about it. He's really trying to deal with this War Spider Exarch in the building over here, just kind of desperately getting, I guess, mega annoyed with it by this point. You know, those things in the building are really tough and brutal and annoying. But, you know, he's doing what he can to get it out. And to at least hold on to one victory point here, we're going to see that Edge is going to try. It looks like I think he was actually going to try and get a phase shift off in there. So he could pull some support in. But I'm not sure, because he waited a little long to get out. But we did see those Guardians there actually purposely sacrificed so that this Avatar could go into production.
I haven't seen an Avatar since, I want to say 1.3, honestly, in a 1v1. This is interesting.
I've seen a few. Certainly, I know there are a couple against Norney and Chaos Rising. Nice usage of the global nuke here. Yeah, Tyrannoform. Just going down in that building, taking out the platform within it, and just generally breaking Edge's position pretty decently, but this Fire Prism still holding out rather well. The Wraith Guard not dead yet, although taking significant losses. These Banshees are going to have to look at getting out of here, though. And
I do like this Fire Prism choice, though. Not many players use it, but the knockback is very nice against Tyranids, especially if the Tyranid is moving it in one singular force.
Yeah, and you know, again, it's kind of it's complementing really well just the entire strategy that we've seen from Edge of this game, which is to really hold that position with kind of a more static force. Even though, you know, the Falcon, Fire Prism is a little more mobile. By the way, I liked what we saw there with the Fire Prism. It was under pressure from those Adrenal Gland Warriors, and what Edge did is he still has that Shuriken in that building. He literally just kited back to the building, and the Adrenal Gland Warrior Brood unwittingly just walked right into the suppression from that, and that easily saved the Fire Prism. It's still out, and now we've got the Avatar here able to go up against the Swarm Lord. Steed Cannon, though, is moving right on top of the Swarm Lord. It's got to move out.
And the Swarm Lord uses Drain Health ability, which drains health from nearby targets in melee range, and so he was able to get a little bit of heal off. But with the Fire Prism and Avatar both hitting on him, he's going to be in a tough position.
Meanwhile, though, we see that the victory point, actually, interesting here, Edtjuh is not pushing the center for Cap. Well, actually, here he is now with the Banshees, but his primary push actually was at the Audark, again to that bottom left victory point for the Cap. And
he's been doing a very good job of just keeping that under pressure this whole entire game, and I've said that before, and I'm going to say it again.
Watch the Lictor here coming up on this Fire Prism with that melee heavy attack, just coming up right behind stealth and everything. Edtjuh either doesn't seem to be noticing or just seems to be suiciding it and figuring that it's dead anyway. but it will go down to the Lictor. The Avatar.
Eldritch Storm was casted, but didn't seem to really hit anything.
Yeah, in the meantime, we do have the Warp Spider are going into that building over there, just causing more havoc. And the Avatar is just going to, again, be another force in this central region. We really have seen a lot of losses here from Edtjuh in the past couple of minutes. But these kind of do seem acceptable when you look at the victory point count. All he really has to do is hold out for a little bit, and he's got this Avatar in the field, while meanwhile that Swarm Lord is not nearly in as good a position as this Avatar is. And we have another Fire Prison coming out to replace the one that was taken out. And again, despite all that said, there's still quite a few useful units out for Edtjuh. So
yeah, Edtjuh just did a really good job of keeping map control this whole entire game. Aki's natural requisition point is fully matured for him, actually, which is very hard to do in many situations, and he was able to pull it off, which is awesome. Especially in this map, the natural is very close to the base.
Yeah, so that is the game, and again, like we were saying, it kind of comes back to that Edtjuh just did a really great job of controlling the middle and then harassing everything around the middle. Recognizing that really it was economy that won this game for him, on top of some good battles, some good tactics and stuff. But I mean, even if you take all of that away, it was the harass on the economy that really put Edtjuh in the leading position there.
Yeah, also that initial extra generator on that other node really did help him tech up faster. And even when he lost it, he still gained his 225 requisition worth about because he was able to capture other requisition points.
Oh yeah, and if we we kind of go ahead and remember, we think back, we recall that the equivalent node for Aki was actually left uncaptured by anyone for quite a lengthy period of time. So all that time, Aki had not captured his secondary power node, while Aki had, Edtjuh had his own, plus a generator. Even if he lost it at any point, that was just kind of like he'd already gotten what he needed out of it. And especially with all the attrition losses that the Warp Spider X-Arc was able to put into the Gaunts, your other argument could easily have been that, maybe Aki did something by destroying requisition that Edtjuh had invested, but Edtjuh had already made that up a long time ago.
Yeah, game 2 is Mech Boy Edtjuh Orcs versus Chaos Lord, who's played by Aki. Chaos is the race. And the map is Leviathan Hive, which is... I actually really do like this map. There are minimal amounts of buildings, so heroes like the Warp Spider Exarch can't keep... And even the Mech Boy can't keep teleporting around, harassing, and then jumping into buildings. Which we saw Edtjuh do very well last game.
Yeah, it is a little long, or some players' complaints about it, but I feel it kind of offsets, the length kind of is offset by, it's a little laney. I mean, if you kind of look at it, like as I'm kind of just sitting here on the loading screen, because we get these nice views of the maps now. I don't know why we don't get the players and replays, but nonetheless, you get a chance to kind of look at the breakdown of the map, and I'll just kind of mouse my mouse here from where I feel like some of the lanes are, and you kind of look at the top here. You've got like one lane, which isn't very much used usually, but you will see like scouts and other kind of like capping squads or squads that are trying to do flanks and stuff use it occasionally. You have a little bit more of a major lane going through the victory point, which is on a bit of a plateau in the middle there. You've got one between the two plateaus, which is kind of interesting because it doesn't really exist anywhere else. Which is kind of a little bit of an exception to all the other lanes, where they kind of have a path from the base, from one base to another base, self-contained within that lane. If you kind of look at this middle lane here, it really doesn't have that because it's getting fed into from other lanes. And then finally we've got the one at the bottom, which is kind of a little bit more like the top, but because of the two victory points there, it's used quite a bit more. So we're going to go ahead and get into this.
Alright, start the countdown.
1 second. Alrighty, so 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Alright, so in the bottom left here, we've got Aki spawn in as Chaos Lord this time. And in the top right, we've got Edtjuh as the Mech Boy.
Yeah, Chaos Space Marines coming out for Aki first, and Edtjuh's going with the shooters. Now, Chaos Space Marines do have heavy armor, and so they're more resilient to ranged fire. And double shooter even, it'll be interesting to see how this fares against the Chaos Space Marine.
So one thing we are noticing actually in the cap order that's a little interesting here from Edtjuh is that with the Mech Boy he went for the victory point as opposed to the power, and with his first couple of capping squads here he's going for requisition rather than power, even though there are two options for power. Speaking about options for power, both sides there is no definite natural power node on this map. You have two options for it. They're about equally viable. It kind of depends on which side you really prefer. And, for whatever reason. So it'll be interesting to see which each player chooses as their true natural in that sense.
Yeah, and we do see the first signs of engagement. Two shooters and a mech versus a Chaos Lord.
Actually, we see the mech is hanging back right now. And now he's going to start moving in. Now, I don't know what these sluggers are doing here because they don't really want to get too close to the Chaos Lord. They don't want to let him get a kill the week off because that will kind of negate all the work the shooters do. But this Chaos Lord, recognizing that this is a losing fight, is going to back out. Mech going to teleport in to get a couple of extra shots in, but really actually he wants to get this WOG banner up. I questioned that a little bit because it seemed like it's a fine strategy, by the way, but I felt like he maybe could have waited an extra second there so that Aki wouldn't have had the vision of the WOG banner going up. So it would have been maybe more of a surprise when he came up against it. But what we see this WOG banner do here is it provides a very nice position of power for Edtjuh here. All of his boys that are around this WOG banner are getting buffed, and it also allows him to deal with Chaos Lord by a temporary stun. Now we're going to see this Heretic squad is going to go down here because it decided to engage the Sluggas, which usually is a good battle for Heretics. The problem, though, is that it is engaging the Sluggas under fire from two shooters. So, when Sluggers are being supported that well, that's quite a bit of an issue.
And also the boys were buffed with WOG, which significantly increases their damage with 3 squads around there.
Well, I mean,
we see the Chaos Lord
use it
going
on all 3 squads, it does. For just like 1 WOG, not too much. Red-wise, Edtjuh didn't spend effort to use it on any more than 1 squad, so the buff wasn't that big, but it was sufficient enough that, yeah, it can turn the tide, particularly when you've got already the superior force composition there. So, other interesting thing here is that we've got Edtjuh with 3 shooters, but actually this 3rd shooter squad is just walking into these Heretics over by that 3rd victory point there, and they're going to have to retreat out after losing 2 members, just essentially to lack of micro there. But anyway, what is a little interesting is that the 3rd shooter squad was the first one to be upgraded with big shooter, and then actually only one of the 2 squads that was on the front lines got upgraded with big shooter initially.
It's also interesting Aki got another Chaos Tactical and a Havoc squad, all without buying any power generators. That's really requisition heavy. He needs to get dominant map control in order to capitalize on the lack of power, or make up for the lack of power, because Edtjuh has 2 generators already up and running.
We do see that he managed to get a successful decap off, though, on one of Edtjuh's power nodes. But Edtjuh managed to get the center power node, so that did manage to swing power in his direction to basically cover for that anyway. So it seems like in the end Edtjuh won't really be hurt, and only now is the first power node going up for Aki anyway.
And Aki's just working down the banner. The banner was put to a good use. It did stun the Chaos Lord, allowing the shooters to run back and kite and shoot some more. And we'll see if he puts any more up. That is a very effective way of dealing with the Chaos Lord, and it's a fairly cheap solution as well.
Yeah, it does cost power now, though. But that banner will go down. But we did see he did use the ability on it really quickly there in order to delay how long it would take for Aki to finish it off, which in turn gave him enough time to take down that power node. But we do see that Aki is nonplussed. He's just building another power node on his other power point, and he's going to put his gen farm there.
And Havocs are inching closer to try to get maximum cover suppression on this Orky shooty blob, but Edtjuh's doing a good job of splitting up his shooters into different directions.
Edtjuh's got to watch those heretics here, but he does have enough DACA there, but he's managing to get that one squad out. They've already lost 3 models, but love the DACA will suppress the Spire Enchantment heretics there and get them out. And now the mech was going to teleport in here and prevent that Havoc from setting up. So it'll have to retreat. And we saw the Chaos Space Marines there almost got in there with the Shooter Boys to finish the last 2 off, but the remaining Shooter squads coming up behind it and forcing the CSM to not really be able to complete their task. But now the CSM walking right into Sluggas, and with Shooters right in their retreat path, possibly, it may be possible here that Edtjuh's going to be able to make a loss on them, but no. See what they're going to get out without taking any losses. But they were able to get them in there, so that probably is the reason why they were able to escape, alright.
And we do see the Spying Champion on the Heretics. That gives them quite a bit more survivability. I wonder what grenade launchers would do against a shooting blob. Grenade launchers do pretty well against high model, low HP squads, and the shooters, sometimes 2 squads are usually together.
He may well have intended to go grenade launcher heretics 2x, but we saw originally that he lost that first heretic squad, and that is actually pretty significant. 1 grenade launcher squad is pretty decent against shooters, but you know, big shooters can usually deal with it well enough by like focus fire and stuff. 2 is where you really start to get into making it tough for the orc. Remember, they're 20 power each, so it's 20 extra power they have to spend. Aki here is still teching behind Edtjuh to begin with anyway. So, you know, it's an interesting consideration, but I think it basically came down to this may not have been his first option, or his first choice. It may have been, his hand may have been forced by that initial loss.
Right. Both players are taking up to tier 2. Edtjuh is taking up faster because he got that power up, and Aki's getting gen bashed by 2-time shooters.
Yeah, he's not getting gen bashed very hard though, as we see this Havoc is setting up here. It's going to be able to force him off, and because the shooters did not target any of the generators, they weren't able to take anything down. And the interesting thing about this is that generally it does seem that like Edtjuh should have an advantage at this point in the game. It took like forever for Aki to get any kind of power up, but somehow Aki is teching just a little bit behind Edtjuh and is pretty well with him at this point. You know, and I think as I look back on it, actually, it kind of just comes down to, if we look at his force composition, he spent 25 power in Heretics, and then 30 power in Havocs, and he hasn't really spent anything else, so he just went a very low power build, and that allowed him to just kind of skimp by to tier 2.
We do see the Eternal War upgrade on both the Chaos Tax, but Death Dread is out. The Death Dread did come out very quickly. Aki doesn't even have any AV out right now, so if Edtjuh can just push forward with this, he can cause some massive damage before Aki can counter it correctly or properly.
The Blood Crusher is building, so this Death Dread really has to watch out. Edtjuh has no AV right now. I remember that Slugganobs do not deal AV anymore, so even if that were an option, it is no longer an option. And the mech was recently upgraded with Edtjuh and Aki, so it doesn't seem like we're going to be seeing a
Beamy Def Gun.
Yeah, Beamy Def Gun from Edtjuh on that front. So again, he's got to be really careful here because a warship Blood Crusher will just walk all over this Death Dread. There is no upgrade on this Death Dread, no forthcoming upgrade either. We are seeing a nice little gem bash here, but this Death Dread, if it's lost, could be much more significant than these generators at this stage in the game.
Yeah, I do like how he's using it, or he was trying to use it to shield, but the Blood Crusher is out, and looks like Aki's making a push to try to protect his last generator.
He's making a mistake here. This is a big mistake by Edtjuh. He moved to engage. He popped Rampage, so he is trying to get out of here, but unfortunately, he didn't turn tail quickly enough. Rampage is already worn off, and the Blood Crusher is just inherently faster in this Death Dread. It's not being supported at all. Tank busters are building, but they're not going to get out in time. This Blood Crusher should have no problem whatsoever finishing off this Death Dread. We don't see the mech changing weapons. We're not going to see a beamy Death Gun. And this Death Dread, it just is at the end of its life.
And now Aki is definitely aware of the secondary power farm. He probably was feeling pretty good because he decapped the Edtjuh's other one, which is the one players usually build on. And I didn't see any units go back there. And tank busters are now engaging the Blood Crusher, but not before he could kill the Death Dread, which is a huge loss. The Death Dread.
And in the meantime, on top of that loss, we also had the loss of an upgraded Slugger squad, which is upgraded with literally everything, Knob and Burna, as it attempted to engage Aspiring Champion Heretics and the Chaos Lord and Havocs and CSM. CSM right now are being upgraded to Zeech CSM, and there also is already a squad of Corn CSM.
I like Corn CSM. Not many players use them, but I hope we see some good usage out of them, because I think they are pretty underrated.
They definitely have a lot of potential against this very shoot-heavy force, especially now that Aki has gotten the most troublesome Sluggers out of the way. The Sluggers would have stood in the way of really using them. We see that aiming what's that here is kind of preventing the KCSM from getting in as close as they'd like on them. But with support, and especially as Chaos Lord, there's only so many things that shooters can focus fire on, and KCSM are heavy infantry, so definitely there's quite a bit of an opportunity for Aki to be able to get in there and really do some damage with the KCSM. Meanwhile, we see this Blood Crusher is still an issue. Tank busters are going to do their best here, but can't really do quite as much as they'd like to with only one squad.
Well, Weird Boy is out. Warp Vomit will allow him to slow down the Blood Crusher.
No, it will not actually.
Really?
Really, no. Warp Vomit does not work on vehicles.
Oh no, they removed that? Dang.
Yeah, they removed that quite a while ago in CR. Yeah, orcs have no snares whatsoever.
It's only for infantry.
Yep. Well, we'll see the Weird Boy effective, and then the zap is an incredibly good zap. Let's just go here and watch the zap. First, it hits the Havocs, so decent damage to the Havocs, then it transfers to the Blood Crusher. Figure, oh, Blood Crusher, not the greatest thing for a zap. Okay, it transfers back to the CSM now, okay. Some good damage on them. And now it transfers over to the Heretics, which is exactly what you want to zap on. And now you notice that these Havocs are still standing pretty close to that zap. They're going to take it and survive it, luckily, for Aki, but lose another model in the process. Or actually not, but a lot of big damage here, and actually going to force those to retreat a little faster than they maybe would have wanted to otherwise. Those Havocs could have been an effective fallback position, if not for that zap, I guess is what it comes down to. And as we see,
that was a nice Warp Vomit, though. It did slow down the Chaos Lord and I believe the Corn Marines, which allowed the shooters to do enough damage to force the retreat.
Yeah, but it may not even have come to a retreat had there been a Havoc back there still. But the Havoc, with only 26 health, just couldn't risk standing there. The shooters would have been able to outshoot it for a very brief amount of time. They would be able to outshoot it and just overrun it. So we do see that Aki is forced off the map. This provides Edtjuh some breathing room.
Another Death Dread out for Edtjuh, and Plague Marines coming out for Aki to deal with the Death Dread, as well as they're really good to melee shooters, unless I'm mistaken, because they explode on death.
Yeah,
they're pretty durable. They move really slow, but the fact that they explode on death is amazing. Oh yeah, completely forgot about the aura.
Yeah, so Plague Marines really are just kind of a very nice, durable unit at this point that Aki really can't go wrong with building, so he's gone ahead and done that. Edtjuh with the Death Dread here, you get the feeling that he has some strategy for this Death Dread, and there's some unfinished business left maybe from before. Certainly, maybe the timing with the tank busters was off. It may well be that his intent is actually to use this Death Dread to stand up to the Blood Crusher.
Now, does the banner stun work on vehicles? I'm not too sure about that.
I believe that it's not 100% on the actual stun.
Because it would be interesting if you build that to specifically counter the Blood Crusher, or slow it down so you can do more AD damage to it.
There's a little bit of a mistake here. We saw, there we go, Warp Vomit didn't work. The stun is working on the Blood Crusher though. but the Death Dread started near the back of this formation here, and hasn't really decided what it wants to engage. Hasn't decided if it wants to engage the Plague Marines or the Blood Crusher. We do see eventually it decides to engage the Blood Crusher, and it will just barely kill the Blood Crusher, but then the Havocs are just going to finish off this Death Dread. And in the meantime, Edtjuh lost a lot in that battle. He lost one of his Shooter squads, lost the Death Dread on top of that, and Aki lost not too much, really.
And we saw this Plague Marines just tank a ton of damage, only lost one model, and now they're healing up at an alarming rate. Just really good usage of the Plague Marines and the Tzeentch Bolters to melee the Shooters and force them to retreat.
And Tzeentch also isn't bad for if war trucks come out later on. The Tzeentch Bolters do decent damage. I mean, they do 10% of their DPS to vehicles. It used to be 20, which is what it was back down from. But 10% really is nothing to scoff at, especially against really low health vehicles. So we are seeing stick bombs right now, though, from Edtjuh.
These Marines are just tore right into the Shooters. Did I would say half of the health within the few seconds that they were engaged.
Yeah. Yeah, the core Marines are kind of integral probably to this build here as we see these stick bombers come out, because the core Marines are going to be they're very, very tough for stick bombers to hit or deal with. Now, by the way, in the meantime, watch these core Marines on this Weird Boy here. And you see that the 6 are going to go ahead and hit the Corn Marines, but in the process they hit the Weird Boy, which in turn allows the Corn Marines to just finish off the Weird Boy even faster, especially with Plague Marine support. The Weird Boy is now down. Edtjuh's in a really terrible position right now.
Quick VP check is 397 in Edtjuh's favor, 110 to Aki's. Aki has 110, but
No, it's the other way around. It's the
okay, my UI is a little bit bugged.
Well, it's yeah, fortunately Roulette hasn't fixed that yet.
Alright, my bad, did not notice that.
No, that's alright. Everyone makes that mistake from
yeah,
time to time.
I was looking at it, I was like, that doesn't seem right. Plague Marines going right into the middle of the blob again, doing an amazing job of disrupting. The Aura's doing amazing amounts of work on these Orc boys.
The stick bombers there were just doing their absolute best to really try and get up there and get some sticks off. But the Plague Marine's doing a good job to hold them back, and we do see the Mech Boy manages to use Abates on the stick bombers to preserve them and let them fight another day.
The Core Marines are getting dangerously low, but they killed, I think, 2 models in the short time that they were there, maybe 1.
Yeah, they do manage to get out though, so that is the most important thing there. These Plague Marines now, though, much bigger, well actually, lesser investment, honestly, but still quite a bit of danger here, but the heal on death is going to allow them to survive out the retreat. We are seeing a looted tank come out for Edtjuh though, and Aki is building up quite a bit of requisition here, and quite a bit of power too. He certainly seems to be power bought, but he's not reinvesting in power, so this is actually a little concerning to me from a macro standpoint. What you're going to see is Aki is actually going to go for a Chaos Dreadnought, and his timing on getting that Chaos Dreadnought out is going to be like absolutely perfect. The problem is that you could have vastly accelerated getting that Chaos Dreadnought out by just building a couple of extra like one extra generator at this farm even would have been sufficient to accomplish what he wanted there. Nonetheless, the War Truck coming out for Edtjuh alongside that looted tank, and Chaos Dreadnought coming out for Aki.
See, the Shooters tried to reclaim the bottommost VP, but are forced back by Aki. One thing I would have liked to see earlier on was the Mech Boy teleporting around and capping the requisition points, because each base has one requisition point far enough away that a Mech Boy can just teleport in, decap it, and then run away before a response can usually get to defend.
Yeah, we have seen a really good job done though so far by Aki though, of really not allowing Edtjuh to use his forces, specifically his Mech Boy, in any way that is, kind of ninja-ish. He's really forced the Mech Boy to be near and to actually, really be participating in combat, and when he's not, heretics and whatever else have ended up just coming into contact with the Mech Boy anyway. So I think we can attribute as much of that to Aki as we can to anything else.
Yeah, and Mech Boy is just right in front of the Havocs, takes a massive amount of damage, teleports behind him, and shoots him. Well, Luda-Tank and War Truck engages the Zinch Marines. Zinch Marines engaging the shooters. I thought they were engaging the War Truck, but the War
But we
Truck...
see great job here. He actually moved the Siege Marines in so that he could cast Blood Sacrifice and pull out some Bloodletters here. Now the issue here is that these Siege Marines need to get out at this point. And actually these Bloodletters need to be focus firing on this War Truck because these shooters are just being field reinforced like crazy. And Edtjuh does actually have the requisition at this point to support that. What would be much bigger is actually to be losing that War Truck. Unfortunately, the Bloodletters don't focus on the War Truck until way too late, and the War Truck remains completely fine.
I would like to point out, though, that it's never a bad thing to put the drain on the economy if you can afford it, but he did lose quite a bit of Zinch Marines in that exchange, so it might not have been completely worth it. But, you know, if he didn't really, it was just a Bloodletter squad, and he could just phase out, like, it would have been worth it, in my opinion. Because there was a lot of reinforcements being made in that situation.
Yeah, and the problem was that if you looked at the economy tab and you looked at Edtjuh's economy in the meantime, it kind of was one of those things where I'm sure it'd be very tough to tell in game, but just kind of looking after the fact, which is what we're doing. We want to try and figure out, okay, what is the best thing to be doing here. When we looked at Edtjuh's economy, honestly, I guess the best way to put it is that it didn't really impact it much at all. It was, you know, he has a pretty good requisition inflow at this point, up to 308 requisition per minute, even at this late stage in the game. And granted, part of that is because he's not paying a ton of upkeep, but nonetheless, you know, it could be worthwhile to recognize the upkeep your opponent probably is dealing with at the moment. And you know, it's also if you can cut out the War Truck really quickly, then the reinforcement stops on top of that. But, you know, definitely in certain circumstances, especially like last game when Edtjuh was winning with the Warp Spider X-Art, that would have been a great time to do that.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Like I said, I would have liked to see more requisition decaps, but Aki, you did mention that Aki did a good job of keeping his forces split up enough that he could guard both sides of the map and respond to Edtjuh's forces. The banners were interesting. I wonder if he used them more, would they have affected the outcome more? Because the stun on the Chaos Lord would have helped a lot in many battles, and then also it would have prevented the Chaos Tacticals from rushing into melee as well as the Plague Marines, because that really hurt Edtjuh in the late game, because towards the end his shooters were just being meleeed by every force imaginable.
Yeah, I'm not really sure if I would point to, you know, usage of banners as, you know, one of the loss factors per se. I felt like the one that he did get out, actually, honestly, both of the ones that he got out, he used relatively well. But it was only for one encounter, and I kind of felt like both of them had potential to be used for more than one. Granted, the second one was kind of just waterfall from the first, you know, previous encounters as to why it was not able to sustain more than one battle. But, you know, the first one I felt like he got a pretty good position on that one. It was just he pushed the wrong side, or, you know, not necessarily he pushed the wrong side, but that he didn't push to support the banner. And, you know, it is something that it doesn't cost a ton, but you do invest in it. So it is something that's kind of worthwhile, I feel, to, if you can maintain it and you can make good use of that position. I guess it kind of, again, goes back to what Edtjuh did in the first game. If you kind of consider what he did with all of his, you know, built, what he did in the center, right? You know, really doing a good job of this positioning the static emplacements, setting up his forces so that even when jump troops and everything else came in, he was still able to fall back and support and, you know, micro really well there. In this game, we didn't really see that quite as much. It seemed like he made a couple of, I almost want to say, half, like that one in the middle, seemed like, you know, he kind of made that push, but by that point, it was a little late. So they almost seemed like, as opposed to, in the first game, you saw a very long-term strategy towards holding position. In this game, you saw much more, much shorter-term strategies, which I feel like if Edtjuh works on it, he could expand those to be strategies that work for him throughout the game, and really have a much better positional game because of it. And I feel like that would actually benefit him a lot in this game. But I think the big thing this game comes down to is that I don't believe that Edtjuh recognized how low Aki's build was on power, right? Because you mentioned that Aki did get 2x Eternal War, but he got 2x Eternal War after he went to Tier 2,
Right.
while Tier 2 was researching. So the total power that Aki expended in Tier 1 was 50. No, my bad. It was 55, because 25 for the Aspiring Champion, and then 30 for the Havoc. Everything else he got in Tier 1 only costed Requisition. So while his generators were delayed, Edtjuh spent way more on power. He got Battery Pack, he got 3x Big Shootas, I believe he even got, I'm not sure if he got Burnos in Tier 1, I have to double check on that.
I believe he got the Burnos in Tier 2 after he got the knob.
Okay. Nonetheless, though, it's 60 power, around 80. So he definitely got quite a bit, and quite a bit more in Tier 1. So he didn't tech that far ahead, and then he really made
Also,
that. Go ahead.
I believe late mid to late game, Aki only had one generator, and that was plus 19 power income, which really for late game isn't that much. I'm actually surprised he was able to get out of Dreadnought. That just shows how little power he spent throughout the whole game.
Yeah, he definitely kicked up his power consumption in Tier 2, but kind of remembering again that most of his attrition losses were on non-power units. I think actually those Havocs were going around for quite a while in Tier 2 with only 2 models, because I think he was trying to limit the amount of power that he was replacing. And again, the Plague Marines weren't retreated very often. They were kind of just kept out there as much as he possibly could, so most of what was coming in for Reinforced were the dual CSM and the Heretics, and I think he had to resurrect his... No, he actually didn't even resurrect the Chaos Lord, which I find kind of odd because he had the requisition to do it had he wanted to. But yeah, I mean, it basically came down to he was really not using a lot of power. We kind of talked about, though, it would have been nice if he had just built like one more generator on that farm, because he had the requisition to do it, and it would have gotten that Chaos Dreadnought out just a bit faster. I don't know if it would have mattered, but it's kind of one of those things where if you can give yourself an advantage, why not? But again, going back to Edtjuh, he came out kind of strong in Tier 1, but then I feel like he underestimated where Aki was in relation to tech, because he saw the big Tier 1, didn't recognize, though, that big Tier 1 was mostly consisting of Requisition. As you mentioned, if he could have done something to inhibit Requisition inflow, that really would have changed this game around quite a bit.
He was reinforcing tactical models quite a bit. I noticed. It's 450 a squad. It's only 3 models. Each loss is quite a bit of requisition.
400 Requisition for CSMs.
Oh, they reduce that?
Yep, in the beta.
Hey. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. My bad.
That's all right. We'll
2 things wrong so far. This is terrible.
Who's keeping track with the?
My internal track keeping thing. I don't.
But anyways, long story short, though, I really didn't like that starting Death Dread. I felt like it was a little too aggressive. Even though Lokgar, you yourself was saying push with it. But when you kind of look back on this, and again, hindsight is always much better than when you're actually in the game. Things look a lot worse than they did then. But certainly, it
that
seems
blood
like
pressure came out, I believe, in the same in like the right moment just to counter it.
Yeah, Aki's timing on the Blood Crusher was, I wouldn't say it was perfect. It was slightly late, because he did lose some generators. That's actually why I think, well, he may have gotten some back up, but I think it was one of the reasons why he only had 1 generator there at the end. But definitely, I'm sure he would have loved to get on a second or 2 sooner, at least. But it certainly got out within enough time that it was, no real problem for him.
And he used it very well until its death, I feel.
Yeah, he certainly got quite a bit of usage out of it. Basically that was probably the primary reason why we saw that wall banner go down. So that's another 100 requisition on 10 power, I believe, that he forced Edtjuh to expend. Edtjuh got another Death Dread, which I'm not sure if the entire intent of the Death Dread originally was to go head-to-head with the Blood Crusher with Tank Buster support or what, but I'm assuming it had something to do with that, because we didn't really see the Death Dread used in any other way. And certainly it's very tough to use a Death Dread in any other way when the Blood Crusher is on the field. So just kind of like looking at all of that, it seemed like it was quite successful for Aki there, and Edtjuh may want to just reconsider that, how aggressive that is.
Yeah. Game 3 is Aki and Edtjuh. Aki playing the Imperial Guard, and Edtjuh playing the Warp Sweater Exarch. Aki playing the Lord General.
Yeah.
And it's back to Greentooth Gorge, so it'll be interesting to see if Edtjuh goes back to his Game 1 strategy of sort of static defenses. When he used Guarding and Shields earlier in Game 1, they were useful against the Raveners, but against Imperial Guard they will be even more useful, because Imperial Guard generally has a lot of ranged firepower. In fact, mostly all ranged firepower. And I'll really like to see some of that static play again, and shield usage.
Yeah, that will definitely help him out. And he's also going to have to find ways to deal with catagens, which are not necessarily an issue for Eldar, but they are going to be one of the things that would be able to break that in Tier 1.
Yeah.
So, ready in 5?
I am on pause in 5.
Alrighty. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So in the bottom we've got Aki spawning in as Lord General, and in the top we've got, again here, Edtjuh as Warp Spider Exarch, and again Edtjuh is going for power first, and Aki here is just going with the 2 natural points, really, grabbing that natural power and that natural requisition.
Sentinel, a key Sentinel can only decap points. It's important to note that it's a vehicle that can fire on the move, but it has heavy infantry armor, so it does get damaged by normal attacks. It's a very powerful stomp maneuver that I believe has a 20 or 30 second cooldown, which sounds as a melee counter.
It's kind of a respectable counter. Not counter, my bad. Respectable cooldown. It's not exceedingly long, but it's not too short either. We got a big thing going down here with the Warp Spider Exarch versus this Lord General on the bottom here by this VP. This is a terrible battle right now for Aki. He's just kind of allowed 2 members of his retinue to just get smashed by this Warp Spider Exarch, just engaging needlessly there. He does manage to kill a Guardian with a Sentinel and kind of regain some of that, but it's still 50 requisition that Aki is going to have to pay to replace his retinue now that he really didn't have to do. And this mirrors that what he did in the first game against Edtjuh as Tyranids with those Termagants down there, or Hormagants.
Also, important to note, he didn't even bother to try to get into cover while the Warp Star Exarch was in yellow cover, so he was taking reduced damage.
Yeah.
Cover is very important. If you're into a 1v1 firefight, just get into cover. You'll be surprised how much longer your troops survive.
Yeah, like cover, if you look at the cover modifiers on like Edtjuh info and stuff, it really is incredibly significant just how much cover affects your survivability. So that's your homework for today, guys. Go ahead on Edtjuh info and go ahead and look up cover modifiers.
And we see Edtjuh didn't cap his the other requisition point on...
Well, he did try to, but the Sentinel managed to keep him off of it.
Right, and that is exactly what Sentinel should be doing early game, harassing lone capping squads, because the stun can really mess up capping squads. It's walking right into the shuriken, which is a terrible idea, half damage.
But in the meantime, we've got these Guardians here spiking this Guardsman squad, just completely taking them out with 1 grenade, and then we finally see the Sentinel using its first stomp of the day. But this is a huge battle for Aki here, and this is kind of the beginning and the end for him. Aki just took a significant amount of damage on his Sentinel. The Sentinel is going to survive, but the problem is here, Sentinels are both blessed and cursed by requiring to be repaired. The blessing is that they can be repaired in the field, they don't have to go back to base. But the issue is, it requires Guardsman squads to repair them, or heavy weapon squads. That repair takes time, and it takes squads. So what we're going to see here is that Aki just got catagens out. And actually what we're going to see is that Aki wants to go for a dual catagen build. The problem with this right now, though, is that Aki has to reinvest in Guardsmen because he lost that Guardsman squad. He needs to be able to repair a Sentinel. That's the only reason why he's reinvesting in these Guardsmen, in my opinion. So, you know, that's kind of the curse part of the Sentinel here, is that, you know, he really wants to have dual guardsmen to support it, but he can't do that without reinvesting them in them at this point, and that's basically how big that loss was to him. And in the meantime here, these Catechins are taking attrition losses against these dual shurikens. They take 3 model losses, which doesn't sound like too much, but when they cost 33 requisition and 3 power per model, that adds up quite a bit in tier 1.
It's also important to note that just the fact that he had to get 2 guardsman squads instead of dual Catechins, Edge is able to get dual Shuris relatively safely, because only the first squad will be able to throw the grenade and disrupt only 1 shuriken.
Yeah, although we are seeing a second Catechin coming out now, so basically it delayed the second Catechin quite a bit. It's ultimately what it did here. It won't deter it, but it will delay it. And the thing is, when we look at economy here, we see that Aki has nowhere near the power income that Edtjuh has. He's behind on power, and he's going to be behind on tech ultimately. And we see that he hasn't built any generators yet, and he's not really in a position to yet. He's going to, I think, slap them down right about now, or a little bit after that. Either way, though, it's because of all that extra requisition expenditure that he doesn't have generators up yet. And that's just a really big factor here. And also this continual attrition losses here on this Lord General. It's 25 requisition per Retinue member killed. And another grenade goes down. That's 3 more guardsmen taken out. Edtjuh is absolutely using these grenades to their maximum capabilities here. As well, the Shurikens and Rangers are just bleeding down these Catechins with the Warp Spider here in the middle. We do see an over-reliable draw forcing 1 Shuriken unset up, but the other is set up, and we have a Sentinel trying to walk around it here. It may be successful in getting a stomp off. Actually, it doesn't seem to have a stomp left to use. So Edtjuh will preemptively retreat, though, and possibly give up a gem farm here, but there isn't much in the way of Bastion material that Aki has. And he's not grabbing a Flamer either on that squad that's repairing the Sentinel, which is a little odd, because actually if he grabbed the Flamer, he would be able to make up relatively the amount of power that it would cost him for it. But then again, the issue is he's absolutely behind in economy right now. There is no relative component for him. He has to get to tier 2. If you look at the power here, the power difference, I want to say, it basically comes down to that Edtjuh is almost at tier 2, while Aki is nowhere near tier 2 at all. So even if Edtjuh managed to cut off Edge's power income, it isn't going to do him a ton of good. And here again, we have Guardians moving in for a grenade spike.
Oh, that was a very good spike. Killed many guardsmen on retreat. That's going to hurt Aki's requisition by quite a lot. Well, the Catechins has just been bleeding him dry as well for both resources.
Yeah, and I think
the Sentinel goes down to the Guardian Fire, which is a huge loss in this point in the game.
Yeah. And I think another thing to note too is if we take a quick look here at the Lord General, he has no upgrades. He has no Sergeant, he has no grenade launcher, and I think when we consider why, it again comes back to the fact that Aki is behind at this point in the game. He lost that early guardsman squad, he had to replace it. That required a lot of requisition, and not only did it require a lot of requisition, we see that the generators are up now, but the generators weren't up then. It took a while for generators to get back to be placed up, which was basically a lot of lost power income, or a lot of opportunity for power income loss. And now again here we're seeing that actually we saw just right there, Catechins actually had a waste and over-reliable on Guardians. I mean basically when there are 2 Shurikens and a Ranger on the field, I consider a use of over-reliable on anything other than a Shuriken to basically be quote a waste. I mean it's not necessarily, it can be a good thing, right? Like it's not necessarily a bad thing to do. But when your opponent forces you to do it, it kind of forces you to use energy and cooldowns and stuff that you don't really want to be using as Imperial Guard.
Yeah, he really needs to save those old reliables for the Shurikens or set up squads, because otherwise what's there to dislodge them? Some player chat going down.
Basically, Aki's complaining about the amount of Shurikens and Edtjuh's troll face, you know, the Catechins counter everything, right?
Yeah. Lone Ranger decapping mature rec point. I like to see that. That's awesome. Let's see if he gets away from these guardsmen.
he shouldn't have too big of an issue. I do believe he is, no, he's actually not upgraded with Pathfinder, but he does have full energy, so I have to assume here that he's got a knockback in him if he wants it. I was going for the building, and he is upgrading Pathfinder gear now. We do see that Aki is getting to tier 2, and he is defending his gen farm with all that he's got at this point, but again, that means that he's not able to push out on the map. Again, if we want to go ahead and look at all the requisition points and the power points and everything, all that Aki has right now is 1 power, well, he's got a full power farm, which is okay, but he has no additional power points, and he only has 1 requisition though, which is mature, but...
And Devils get wiped by a grenade and some focus fire on the retreat. Possibly get wiped.
Yeah,
maybe survive.
There they go.
Yeah. That's
And
just...
Wraithguard are out now, so these guardsmen are probably going to take some lost armor. Oh no, another grenade armor. And that wipes that guardsman squad, and that, my friends, that is it for Aki. He is down to 1 catechin, which isn't even full health, full strength, a guardsman, and his hero. And there is a frustration reliable right there. That was not meant to accomplish anything, my friends.
That... Edtjuh has been on top of these grenades every single time. I believe every nade has killed at least 1 model.
There were a couple that have been astray, but there have just been so many that he's been using, and a majority of them have been so well targeted, as you mentioned. That, yeah, I mean, it's very few have missed, and the ones that have are more than acceptable. Meanwhile, we have the sniper rifle going down, interestingly.
He's doing a great job of predicting where units will be moving, either in retreat or just simply moving.
We're in the middle of upgrades.
Meanwhile, we have a shuriken in a little bit of trouble. It can just retreat to the, if it gets there. I'm not really sure what Edtjuh's doing here. If he may be able to get the shurikens to the building, may not. Well, either way, we're going to see Aki just GG out of this one.
Eldar weapons team is engaged.
Yeah,
As
those
the order
nades
comes
really put the hurt on Aki. I believe 3 squads wiped to grenades.
Yeah, basically. I mean, it was a win fraught with grenades. I mean, he basically paved the way to victory with grenades.
Even without the wipes, I saw very minimal dodging from Aki. There was that one point when both Guardian squads just took a grenade to the face without even trying to move out of the way, which just really does put a wrecked drain on the player who refuses to dodge.
Yeah, I mean, you really do. I mean, there are sometimes when you can and should eat grenades, but definitely in this matchup, you know, from what we saw, definitely not the thing to be doing. And actually, I've argued quite a few times for not always getting sergeants on guardsmen. This is actually probably one of the few games where I've watched and really said, like, you know, that person should have gotten sergeants on their guardsmen. Because in this particular game, Aki, you know, both wasn't dodging well, and as you mentioned, refused to dodge at times. And just in general, with the sergeant, maybe have more stuff gibbed, but ultimately you're paying less to reinforce. You have more models, so there is less chance that the squad is going to be completely gibbed. This would have been a good investment for Aki at this point. I mean, it's kind of one of those things he would have had to have buckled down after losing the first squad to a grenade and just gone, alright, I need to, you know, get sergeants on my guardsman squads. I don't know if he just is not confident enough in Imperial Guard about that yet, or what, but that's just something that I see that I feel like would have helped him in this game. As well, though, it's notable, again, if we look at the final map control here, Edtjuh really just, again, did a great job of controlling the map. Again, did a great job of controlling the middle, making sure that there was just about no contest in the top victory point, and then in the bottom middle victory point, making sure, again, that was constantly contested, even though that should have been should have been Aki's victory point, per se.
Yeah, the Orpshire Exarch really excels in that. Sorry for that long silence, I had a cough.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
Yeah, so I believe next on the list is analysis of one of the showmatch games before at the end of everything.
Yeah, I mean, we're a little tight on time, unfortunately, even though that last game didn't take nearly as long as the other two. the showmatch game, I don't want to say is necessarily long, but certainly is a little bit longer than 14 minutes.
True. 1 minute. We could do. I mean, we could just do the first one. But that does go over the 7 o'clock time limit, which means it would cut into IC Cup Channel 1. Prime viewing time, guys. Starts at 7 o'clock.
Well, I believe this is up to our superiors.
This is up to our superiors. Let's ask the superiors. Um, by the way, I stopped being able to hear you.
Yeah, I cut my mic out while we go ahead and do a little double check with them here. That is the people who we apparently shouldn't be asking.
Apparently. Hmm. Rokun is being very helpful, in case anyone's wondering.
Oh, okay. Yes, day 9 never goes over, but apparently we either go over or we go under. I don't know, day 9 has gone over a couple times, don't give me that. Know your day 9, Rolkin. Know your day 9.
I believe this is internet sarcasm.
Alright, well I will have something quick for us to do, really, in a second.
We could just do the game 3 real quick.
Yeah, that one actually is very quick, yeah, so I do need the replay for that, though, because neither of them really wanted to post the game 3 for reasons.
Alright, I do have it. Our apologies for
Sorry guys, we expected to have a little more time, but we were trying to run it a little tighter than we really should have.
Yeah, our bad. Still new to this.
Yeah, so we'll go to commercial really quickly, we'll get the replay, and we will work on doing Game 3, actually the show match we did on Friday. So that's what we're planning to do. We're going to actually, today we're going to do one game, tomorrow we'll do one game, and Wednesday we'll do one game. Replay analysis from the games that we had played on Friday by Soom and Aki. By the way, we want to thank both Soom and Aki for participating in that. I'm not sure that we did a good enough job of that on Friday. I know that we've both done that since on forums and whatnot, but I want to make sure that we got it out there on the show. Speaking of which, what forums, game replays, anything else we need to plug in the meantime, guys?
IC Cup, like always.
Yeah.
And a plug, the match we just watched was from the ESL, Electronic Sports League, from their first 1v1 outside of, since Edtjuh released.
Lokgar, your mic has dropped a little bit in volume since, not quite sure, but... Alright, so anyway, we're going to go to commercial really quickly while I go ahead and get this replay in here.
I'm saying the replay on Skype.
Yeah, hold on, save. Okay. That's a slow transfer time. Alrighty, so we should be back now, and we've almost got this set up and ready. Alright, there we go. Should be just about loaded in. Here we go. Alrighty, I've got it. So let's get in here and load this in really quickly, so that we can go ahead and finish this off.
We'll be paused to 5.
Can you turn your mic volume up a little bit, because it's coming in again a little low for me. Alright, so this is Aki versus Soom Game 3 from our show match last Friday. This Friday we'll be having a King of the Hill tournament. I can't tell you guys the players just quite yet, but we are looking to have some special guests. And then next week, all of next week, we're going to be hosting a round-robin mini-tournament. So Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday will be the opening rounds and stuff, you know, the round-robin portion, and then we'll actually do the finals on Friday for that. So definitely you guys want to be around here for that. Tomorrow and Wednesday we're going to have, you know, regular content just like today, except, again, organized better, but always going to strive to improve there.
Alright, I am paused at 5.
Same here, so we are ready to go. This is Soom versus Aki on Seawall Frontier. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And Soom was playing the Ravener Alpha this map. In the show match, he played every Tyranid hero, at least once.
Yeah, you got a little bit of everything there.
One thing I do like is this tunnel placement. It really lets him capitalize map control, because he's able to send his Termagants immediately to the requisition point, cutting a few seconds off that travel time, which is very good, especially since his Ravener's grabbing that victory point before the natural wreck is even really capped for their Exarch.
I mean, see, even the Warp Spider Exarch has a little bit of not necessarily trouble, because he did decide to, you know, capture that requisition point first. But the Ravener Alpha here is actually a little more mobility. Actually, Soom is getting out of the Ravener Alpha than Aki is getting out of the Warp Spider Exarch, which is a little interesting there.
And, yeah, Soom, this game does an amazing job of map control. He just forces Aki back. Aki's doing a good job of harassing with the Warfare Exarch, the teleport, and the Hormigons lost only one model, but at half health they're gonna, or less than half health, they're gonna spend more time regenerating in base. And lost time is lost control points too.
So again here, we kind of see that Soom is lining up in such a way that he is able to hold this top portion of the map. He goes with 2x Termagants, whereas Aki is only 2x Guardians here. Aki is, you know, taking the bottom portion of the map. But Aki hasn't really gotten out his tier 1.5 stuff yet. He does have 2 generators down, and we do see actually the Ranger is going to be coming out now. But we see that Soom already has a nice force in the field. He's got 2 generators up. He's got really good map control up top. He's able to start making a push down towards the bottom at this point. And he's got 1 Toxin stock up already. And,
yeah, and he's got the two middle requisition points, which are very big in this map. Sometimes you can't really hold them on for too long, but just that extra 10 or 15 requisition income for that minute or two you have it can really turn the tide of the game.
So you see that the Warp Spider Exarch here getting crippling poison. So he's not quite able to pop a special on those Termagants the way he wanted to. And these Gants here are really just doing a pretty decent job of just harassing and forcing Aki to use units for defense rather than for capping and map control.
I do like running the Termagants into the buildings. While they don't do damage much at all inside of there, they don't take very much damage either. So you're really saving yourself requisition in the long run, since you just don't have to reinforce them.
In the meantime, we have the Ravener Alpha in the bottom here, capping the victory point there. So basically, we're going to see that Aki is going to shift now up to top, try and recap a lot of that stuff. Soom, in the meantime, has already transitioned to taking the bottom, and he's got tunnels in great positions. Let's look at this tunnel placement. It's just absolutely perfect here. It's just a little behind all these points. He's able to defend them still as necessary. I think, you know, his units can come out kind of from his side. They're just mobility enhancers, effectively. You're seeing great range DPS go down on this Warp Spider Exarch, forcing him to retreat. The warriors come out and everything. And now all of a sudden, Aki is forced back once again. The Shuriken's going to come out and try and hold the line here. We're seeing a second Ranger being built, which is a little interesting. And also I like this tunnel right here, just barely outside the range of the Shuriken. And right over to the power form to allow for a flank here on the Shuriken. And the bait here of the Termagants coming in allows Soom to pull this off without Aki realizing what's going on. And then he pops Catalyst here. This was just such a great usage of Catalyst, in my opinion.
Yeah, many players don't use Catalyst because they think the damage taken isn't worth it. However, he destroyed that Shuriken platform. That damage was completely worth it. He lost one model in exchange.
I mean, and he was going to have to retreat at that point anyway. We saw great usage of kinetic shot, by the way, though, to prevent the Ranger squad from going down as well. But the mere fact that the Ranger squad was even threatened was completely because of the global ability usage there. You know, Catalyst was really just perfect for that situation.
Another thing to note, going back to tunnel position, the first tunnel he lays down in this base is off to the side slightly, and the reasoning behind that is when the Tyrant Guards and Swarm Lords and, you know, Carnifex come out, like, they destroy tunnels just by moving over them. And if it's right in front of your base, it doesn't matter where the rally point is, they're going to spawn on top of it and crush it, and you're just going to have to waste a tunnel to rebuild it. And if it's off to the side, you can put the rally point on the opposite side, so when the vehicle comes out, the tunnel won't be crushed.
Yeah, and that's definitely going to be huge later in the game, if there is a later, and unfortunately we know that there isn't too much of a later. We do see that Soom actually had the chance to go tier 2, but decided to invest in another warrior brood at this point. So we can see that he feels he's really got something going in tier 1 here. We see that Aki actually only has like 50 power. And we see some great, I love this tunnel micro here, by the way, to try and deal with this suppression. And then a little bit of a bug, you know, rendering bug here. The tunnel, you know, obviously gets destroyed immediately after that there. But just that little bit of micro allows Soom to get off that extra, you know, shot. To just kind of, again, tie up Aki a little bit, allow his own forces time to rest, recuperate, get up to full health, get reinforced, get back out there. And unfortunately, this Guardian squad for Aki down here was idle for so long, probably due to a capping bug, but nonetheless, still idle. And again, looking at tunnel placement, these Tormagants weren't there a minute ago. All of a sudden, see the Shuriken and just pop out, and now they're behind it. They're just tunnels all over the place in very nice positions, and this is allowing Soom to come out where he needs to come out, to really just kind of cause damage and disruption against Aki, and without Aki being able to do too much about it.
Yeah, the tunnel placement has been amazing this whole entire game. It's not too far that units won't be able to get into the battle quickly enough, but it's not so close that they're able to be destroyed before they are used once.
Yeah, I mean, basically we see that they're all effective for fallback points. Oh, actually, you know, I think I may know why those Guardians were idle. I'm not sure. I probably would have to double check when this tunnel down here died, but it could have been he ordered the attack on the tunnel and just did not check back in with those Guardians. Either way, he could have had a good portion of the bottom of the map capped with those Guardians. They were really sitting there for about 2-3 minutes.
And possibly even a slight gen bash going.
Yeah, you know, just anything to draw Soom's attention away from Aki's own power generators, which, I mean, as we can see by the end of the game here, nearly all of Soom's attention is there. So anything to draw away from that would have been positive, but unfortunately that was lost in the process. So actually, I think we managed to hit our 7 PM deadline pretty well. Do you have any closing thoughts on this game?
Really Soom just capitalized map control. The Ravner Alpha allows for amazing map control and map domination if his tunnels are used right, and Soom just capitalized on that. That's really what won him the game.
Yeah, I think Soom just played an absolutely great game as Ravner Alpha here. He really leveraged the map, I think as good as I've seen, you know, this map leveraged by Ravner Alpha in quite some time. So, just a really well executed game by Soom. I don't have much else to say, honestly.
Yeah, Soom just played phenomenally.
So in the best of 3. Really great job in this game, and we're going to go ahead and take a look at the other 2 matches that were showcased in this show match between Soom and Aki. both Tuesday and Wednesday, so be sure to tune in for those. And again, like I said, on Friday we're going to have a little King of the Hill tournament. And all of next week we're going to have a round-robin mini-tournament throughout the week. First 3 days are going to be the round-robin portion. The last day will be the finals. And once again, I just want to encourage everyone, if you have a replay, upload it to gamereplays.org. PM myself or Lokgar the PM. Tell us why we should be interested in it, and we'll go ahead and take a look at it, and maybe it'll be on here. We're definitely looking for replays for tomorrow right now. We'll be sifting through those probably tonight, tomorrow morning, so there's still time.
Even if you think you're not good enough to be showcased on the show, please do it, because we really do need those replays.
Oh
anyway.
Yeah, you're never not good enough. I mean, even the newest among us is good enough to be on this show, because this show isn't. I mean, we've been showcasing so far the top of the top in some ways. We've had Soom and Aki do a show match. We just showed you the ESL finals. But despite all that, we really do want to support Edtjuh's competitive scene, right? So that's one of the reasons why we've been focusing on those two things. Initially, those were two big events that just happened. So obviously those are a big focus, but we also want to help newer players, mid-level players. We really want to help players grow and improve, basically, no matter what level you are. That's the entire intent of this show, and that's the fun of it too, is being able to watch what all players do. So actually tomorrow, what we want to try and do is we want to find some good replays that deal with economic components of Dawn of War 2, components that honestly are rather overlooked by a lot of players, certainly by a lot of new players, and definitely by a lot of people that don't play Dawn of War 2 at all, which of course a lot of newer players are a little bit more familiar with and stuff. We really want to kind of dig into those components through replays and expose just how big those impacts are. We kind of get a little bit of a preview today, and it's going to be a common theme throughout our cast, but tomorrow we'd really like to get into that in proper detail and really help you guys out with that.
Yeah, and with that is the end of our show. So tune in tomorrow at the same time, 5:30 Eastern.
Yep, thank you guys for tuning in, and again, we'll see you tomorrow, 5:30 p.m.
Tune into Icy Cup Channel 1 right now. We have some StarCraft 2 being casted.
For those of you guys into StarCraft 2, should be some good stuff. Always is on iCup, actually.
Always. Anyway, yeah.
Alright, thank you guys, once again. We will see you tomorrow.